Cool. Awesome. Okay, so I think chat should be enabled, and I think we're ready. We can go ahead and get started. So welcome, everyone. Super excited to have everyone here. This is our first installment of our new webinar series called How to Build, where each episode we're going to be tackling one of the most pressing questions or pitfalls that we hear from our dear customers, you, in the land of content management. So we've got a really exciting, one of our most asked for, possibly the most asked for topics that we're going to be discussing today. And that, of course, is all things Figma. So design, Figma, workflows, importing, integrations, all of that. Super, super excited and really excited to have everyone here today. So there we go. My name is Tim Garibaldi. I lead our customer engineering team here at Builder. So I work with a lot of our largest enterprise customers on the technical side. So I like to think I have my finger on the pulse of what our customers are really talking about. So that's one of the reasons I'm super excited, like I said, to really be talking and diving deep into this Figma importer and this topic of workflows, because it's definitely one that's top of mind for a lot of our customers. So and then I am very excited, as always, to be joined by one of my absolute favorite colleagues, Builder's own in-house design extraordinaire. We have Tiana with us today. Hi, Tiana.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing? How's your week going?
It's going good. Excited for the long weekend up ahead.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I forgot it was a long weekend until just the other day. So even doubly excited. Cool. So let's get into it. Here's our agenda for the next 30, 40 minutes. We just had our quick welcome a second ago. In a second, we'll introduce the topic. What is the problem we're here to talk about? And of course, that is kind of Figma design workflows and how to improve those things, right? We'll spend a few minutes going over why it matters, what the problem is, why it's such a pain, why we see it as a major issue internally at Builder, but also hear about it all the time from our customers and what we've done to really fix the problem. After that, our own lovely Tiana, who you just met, is going to be going through a demo of the product and kind of showing how she uses this tool in her day-to-day life as a designer here at Builder, how it's kind of defined her workflows and how she uses it in her day-to-day, and also how she kind of influenced the design of this, this product itself. So super excited for that. At the end, we will have time for some questions. So please, there's a little chat box up here, or maybe over here or down here somewhere. Please feel free to post any questions during this, and we will have someone manning the chat, and we'll have some time at the end to kind of go through some of those questions. So excited for that. And then, of course, at the very end, we will have some resources that we can share with you, links, documentation, files, more information that hopefully will help you out. So cool. How's that sound, Tiana?
Sounds good. Let's start.
Let's do it. All right. So then, without further ado, let's jump right in. Why are we here today, right? As we know, designers spend a ton of time using this industry tools that they know, that they've become experts in and that they love, right? Like Figma, okay? But translating those amazing designs that they've made in Figma into their CMS or into a web app can be a total pain, right? There's no clear integration workflow. There's handoff between teams. In my last job before Builder, I was a front-end developer at a big mega bank, right? And a large part of my job was receiving these files from our design team, taking a Figma file, breaking it down into divs, boxes, breaking it down into sections and components, figuring out how all the pieces fit together and how to rewrite it in code, basically redoing the work that my design counterpart had already done, right, on the design team. So, duplicative work and things eventually or inevitably were getting lost, right? Invariably, there was some sort of changes. We'd have a ton of back and forth. They'd say, hey, fix this margin over here. Actually, I don't like that. Let's do this. Let's, make it breathe a little more. Let's go back, all this back and forth and changing their minds. And it would, especially with very complicated designs, it often would lead to friction, slow down, just any of these negative workflows that we all encounter in our life in kind of web development and content management, right? And this was when I was a full-time coder. So I knew how to break everything down, but I would still get confused by very complicated designs and all the back and forth. I wanted to build the cool widgets and the things on our site. I didn't want to have to like change this font size from 16 to 18 or add 2 pixels to the left margin, that kind of stuff. That's not what people, go to code school to learn how to do, right? So this hurts your team, hurts your business, slows down your design process, slows down your from design to shipment of product. You're missing deadlines, there's friction, everyone's frustrated, everyone's upset, you're racking up tech debt, all that kind of stuff. Your site is slowing down, sales are going down, it's a whole mess, right? And we want to avoid that. We hear it all the time, and I think all of us have probably lived it at some level in our jobs at working again in website development or in design, like content management stuff too as well, right? So we at Builder knew we had to have a better way. We thought we could figure out a better way to fix it internally and also help our customers. So introducing, drum roll please, the Figma Builder Importer Tool 2.0, right? So we've had a Figma importer for a long time. It was one of a pretty early product of ours. But one thing we strive to do at Builder is always constantly be listening for feedback, gathering feedback, and making iterative improvements. And so that's kind of where this 2.0 that just recently came out in beta comes into play, right? And while it is in beta, it is available to any customers. So just something to keep in mind there. But what exactly is it, right? So it's an automatic importing tool that allows you to convert your Figma designs into responsive actual code within Builder in just a few clicks of a button, okay? So it's an intuitive, prescriptive, and time-efficient way to go from design to deploy in just a few clicks, right? Which is great, which is super powerful. There's none of this back and forth. Everything's handled, internally with the design team or whoever owns these designs. It's just been a huge improvement on the workflows that we use, right? So why does it matter? It simplifies workflows. It makes it easier to import these designs. You're not doing duplicative work, and your designers are able to kind of own these designs from start to finish, and don't have to rebuild everything from scratch. So, and then why did we build it, right? Honestly, because we wanted it, and also because you asked for it. Our customers were constantly asking for ways to improve their workflows. We're constantly asking about how to get things from design into a website, how to work with their developers and designers easier. And so, that was kind of what started the conversation internally and, what inspired us to build this out. So all of this sounds great, right? All of this sounds wonderful and magical, but how exactly does it work? I'm sure you're all wondering. I'm certainly wondering myself. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tiana, who's going to give us kind of an overview of her day-to-day here at Builder, how she uses this tool, how she helped design this tool, and then eventually give us a demo of the tool in action. So Tiana, how does that sound?
Sounds good. Alrighty. Hey everyone, my name is Tiana and I'm a product designer here at Builder.io, and I get to work on really cool features and products just like our freshly updated Figma plugin. I am very excited to go over this with you today because it actually solves a bunch of the pain points that I have personally experienced as a designer. So before I was a product designer and focusing on product, I actually worked as a marketing designer, and I worked in the agency and nonprofit environments, and you have very little resources when you're a part of those type of organizations. Your teams are very small, everyone's wearing lots of hats, and my team did not have in-house dev resources. So all the designs were made in Figma. Then we redlined them, spec'd them out, sent them off to a third-party development team. It takes about depending on the project size, 3 to 6 weeks to get it back, right? And then we would get it back and it wouldn't be quite the same as a design that we had sent them. Like Tim had mentioned, we wanted things moved 2 pixels to the left. We wanted border radiuses changed. We wanted a little more breathing room. We realized the font wouldn't work. So we would respec everything, not redesign it, but spec it out, send it back to the dev team. And they're like, okay, these are so tiny. It's going to take maybe 2 weeks. Okay. Then they would send us back the revisions. We would make more revisions, send it back to them. And there was just this endless loop of back and forth, because we could not get the design to look the way we wanted to on our Figma file. And, when you focus on one project and you go back and forth with that one project, it pushes all the other projects back. So the other deadlines get tighter. Sometimes they get missed altogether. Launch dates get closer, but you're still working on that one project versus, you're supposed to be 3 projects ahead. And at this point, like the developers, I'm sure they're getting frustrated with us because we're like, it's not good yet. Like, keep working on it. You need to make more revisions. And on their side, they're seeing those tiny, tiny little revisions that we want done, like change it from, the border radius from 8 pixels to 6 pixels, or we want this spacing between this section to now be 44 pixels and not 56. They're very small, minute things that I wish we could do ourselves, but we can't because I don't know code. I'm not fluent in those type of languages. So yeah, there's just this very frustrating loop. They're getting frustrated with us. We're getting frustrated with them. Everyone's just frustrated, stressed out. We're missing deadlines. Now the upper people are getting stressed out with us because we're missing those deadlines, and just it's stressful. Like, I'm getting stressed thinking about it.
Totally. Yeah, no, and from the dev side, like you said, I mean, we're not excited about changing that 1 pixel and back and forth. And then, it's good to have the flexibility of being able to say, change it a little bit and then see how it goes and like see it in real time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, like, even if you make a design in Figma and you're like, this looks great, this is perfect, and you send it off to the developer, and when it comes back, you realize, wait a minute, this doesn't work quite as well as I thought it would in responsive design. Like, the design does not work. We want to switch it out. We want to iterate on it. But you can't just do it yourself. You have to send it off to them again, and then they have to, developer has to make the tickets, and then it's going to take a couple of weeks. Something that you wish you could do very quickly. Just do those revisions yourself. And that's why, like, this Figma plugin is so exciting for someone who wants to do that themselves, because it's such a great tool to utilize inside of your workflow. Because again, you get that power back. Like, you can do it yourself. It's a DIY tool.
Yeah.
If you don't know code, you can put those designs into code quickly because it automatically does it for you. You can take those static Figma designs, you can bring it over to Builder, and then you can see how that static design works in responsive web design. And it gives you the power to quickly iterate. Let's say, like the breathing room, like you have 2 elements away from each other. When you bring it to Builder and you see how they actually interact with each other between desktop and mobile, you're like, okay, going to move this closer. We're going to move it a little further. You can quickly make those iterations yourself. And I think that's so powerful.
Definitely. For sure.
And then we use a set builder pretty extensively, actually. So we build things out in Figma. All the designs are created there. We use this particularly on our marketing site. So all designs get used with this plugin tool. We also use it in the app itself. So I'll create screens and UIs inside of Figma, and I can use the tool and bring it into the Builder app and plug it into the app itself. So some of the screens that you see in the Builder app, the visual editor, are actually made using this plugin tool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely, I know it kind of has informed the design process, and it's made it a lot easier for us on the technical side, because we don't have to do as much of the building work, because it's done for us when these pages arrive. So it's really great.
It is great because I have the most context about this design itself, and if I can go in and quickly iterate from there and then also make the changes that I need in the future, how powerful is that? Like, I don't even know code, but I can do it myself.
Totally. Well, and at Builder, we're all remote, right? So it's not like you can come like sit over my shoulder and do the work together as easily. So it's great to be able to do it this way. So
yeah, it is, but I think we should stop talking about it and actually show it. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Here, I'll stop sharing my screen if you want to take it over.
All right, we're gonna dive into Figma and we're gonna do the awkward screen sharing part. Let's see. Where is my window? There it is. Cool. Did I share the correct one? Can you see my Figma?
Yes.
Can you see me switching back?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay. Remote life, right? Okay. So we're going to start in Figma. And this is where we're going to be spending a bulk of our time today. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it in a handful of steps, but I'm going to give myself room for error. So 5 to 7 steps. We're going to get from point A to point Z. And what we're going to cover today are a few key steps to set up your Figma file and take that file and make final style adjustments in the Builder visual editor. So yeah, that sounds good. Let's get started. Alrighty. So first step, step 1, make sure you're using this plugin. It is the Builder.io Figma to HTML, React, and more plugin. You can find this in the Figma community. Looks like this. You don't have to install it. You just have to know which one to use. All right, so now we're going to go to our design. And this design will be ready for you to play around with at the end as well. We're going to have this ready for you. We're going to go with this file right here. So first, you want to make a copy of your file because you don't want to work with your master. So I'm just going to Alt drag it down. And as you can see, nothing has been set up yet. They're all free floating. There's an SVG icon there. And yeah, so yeah.
Good tip to use a copy, right? Like, I feel like that's good words to live by. Never work on the original master.
Yes. And also you want to always have, if you want to do this, you can make a copy of that so that you always have something to reference right on the side. Like I like to go back and forth between the two to make sure that I'm setting up the file correctly.
Totally.
All right. So first thing you want to do with this to use this plugin correctly is you want to rasterize or flatten any images here. And why you want to do this is because if you're using SVG files, they're like complex layered files. And when you lay out the auto layout onto it, it'll spread the file across your screen. And that's not what you want. You want them to be like one layer, right? And then I can show you how to swap those layers out for the SVG or the original file that you actually wanted to. So let's say this is a video file. We're going to be swapping that out in Builder. This is SVG file. We'll swap that out again in the final adjustments. But for now, you want to flatten all the images. All right, so I've flattened a bunch of them already. These are flattened, that's flattened. This is the one we want to do. All right, and all you want to do for this is rasterize. The shortcut is Command P, and that opens up the search bar, or you can go through the file here on the side and you can search for it. I believe it lives in Object Rasterize Selection. Let me show you the shortcut so you can see it a few clicks. Command P opens up the search bar, Rasterize Selection. Just going to click that. It's going to rasterize it for you. Easy peasy. All right, so that's the first part of it. The next part is you're going to set up the auto layout. And auto layout is based on CSX Flexbox, and that's how responsive web design works, and that's how Builder works out of the box. So that's why the auto layout is very important here, because that's how it's going to translate over into Builder. All right, so auto layout is not complicated at all. If you have no idea what auto layout is, you're basically just telling like the elements, hey guys, I want you guys to line up in a row, or I want you guys to stack up in a column, and I want you guys to socially distance from each other in that column or that row. And that's all you're doing. That's all auto layout is.
Yeah, and I was gonna, it reminds me of, when we demo Builder, we recommend people to kind of use what we call the box model, which is like where you're lining things in rows and columns and nesting boxes. And it translates directly to what as a developer, how we build web pages, right? So it's kind of like setting your designs up for the website, the web app eventually, which is all, going to start streamlining the process no matter what, which is really great.
Yeah, and it can be like a difficult concept to change your mind about, especially when you're used to just dragging and moving things around in a Figma canvas or a Photoshop canvas. But if you think about it in a way like, I'm going to make this a box and this is a box, and those boxes are related to each other. So wherever this box moves, the other box will move with it. It's basically a relation. Where one goes, the other will go with it.
Yep.
All right, so let's get started with the auto layout. The first thing you want to do is you want to group smaller components and you want to nest similar objects first. So things that are closer together, things that should live together. Let me show you really quickly. All right, so this icon right here, right? You can see visually, there's this giant space between the text box and the icon. But this text box and this text box live much closer together, and I want them to stay that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nest these two together. I'm going to select these elements, and the keyboard shortcut is Shift-A. You can also click Auto Layout here on the side, but I find that it doesn't always show up when you select elements. So Shift-A is a very important thing to remember. Shift-A, and that will auto layout these two and make that a family. So this is an immediate family, right? These are nested together. They will live together. They will move together based on how they stretch. All right, now you can see that these two are 44. This one is 58. All right, so what you could do is if you have things at distances that are further apart from each other, you can select this family and now this one, because these are closer than this icon is. We're going to make that another family. So we're going to extend the family out. Shift-A, auto layout, and just make sure when you're doing this to zoom out, and you want to go back and forth between your master and your copy, just to make sure that it's lining up correctly. And if it's not, you can adjust the spacing here, right here, this icon. So you can go up, you can go down. All right, now we're going to add this as part of the family as well. Shift-A, auto layout. Again, zoom out, make sure nothing has moved. It looks pretty good optically, so yeah, I'm feeling confident about that. Now, when you zoom out, this is a family here, and you can see that this is actually a block at the top. So we want to make this a big family, and then we're going to separate that into this family, or family 1 and family 2. So they're neighboring families, basically. So we're going to make this a family right here. I'm going to select all of these elements and Shift-A. I know it's a lot of auto layout. It's a lot of boxes, but this will work out in the end when it comes to things responsive.
Yeah, that's the one thing that always, I think, customers also get hung up on, right? Because within Figma, it's like you have distinct designs for, oftentimes you'll have distinct designs for desktop, mobile, tablet. And in Builder, you don't have to do that. And, you can have the same design that just like fluctuates responsively. And that's really what this auto layout is helping to do.
Yeah. And it's a lot of pre-work in the beginning, but it's really going to work out at the end. You're going to see how they work when you're able to drag the screen bigger and smaller and see how they react to each other. Right. Oh, another important thing that I do want to make note of is you want to make sure that you are not using fixed width or height. You want to make sure that they're hugging the elements. So let's check this box here. And hug is right here. This is the resizing, horizontal and vertically. The reason for that is because you want them to stretch out and you want them to shrink according to the browser size.
Yeah, I mean, that's true in development too. Like you don't really want to use fixed width for any time for, it's bad for responsive design. So.
Right, so let's see. All right, so this hero section is good. We're going to go down to the brag bar. And unfortunately, auto layout at the moment does not do like a grid auto layout. So we're going to have to do it in 2 parts. All right, so again, auto layout is columns or rows. This column is lined up nicely together. So we're going to make this a family. So we're going to select that. Shift A auto layout again, or it's on the side, Shift A, that's family. And I want them to be centered all the time. So we're going to center that, make sure they're hugging. Then we're going to make the row below a family with Shift A and also center that as well. And I want this to be an extended family. So I want all of them to be cousins. So we're going to Shift A and make that another family, right?
Perfect.
I think families are a great way to think about auto layout in boxes. Like you're related to
Absolutely.
each other and you're related to each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the relational space of everything, right?
Mhm.
Makes a lot of sense.
All right, so we've got that set up and that set up. Now we have to auto layout the actual frame that they live in. And we're going to select this hero section frame. I'm going to select Shift A, and that's set up for auto layout. Make sure it's hugging. It's got some
Cool.
padding there. Looks like everything's set up correctly. And again, you're going to zoom out, go back and forth with your master and your copy. And yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it took only, a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it looks the same to me.
All right, so let's see if it works. Cross our fingers. And so here's where you're going to start using the plugin. So you're going to open the plugin. The shortcut for that is Command P for the search bar. And you're going to type Builder.io. There it is. This is the plugin you want to use.
Nice.
All right, so select that copy. If I set it up correctly, it will take us to a builder fiddle. So generate the code. Depending on the size, it can take a few minutes, a few seconds to a few minutes.
Yeah. And did you have to, oh,
And there we go. Yep. The great thing about it is that it tells you where you missed some things in the auto layout. And I did miss something. We missed this button. Okay. Alrighty. Oops. So we're going to clear the errors out. The errors will show up in red. So if this hadn't been auto layout, this entire block would have been in red.
Got
Or
it.
if I hadn't auto layout the entire frame, this entire thing would be outlined in red. But it looked like just this button was not. So we're just going to click in and close out of that. Click the button. Yep. Another thing to note, you can check your layers panel. Everything that's been auto layout will have these 3 lines. They'll have columns or rows. As you can see here, 3 lines. Otherwise, there'll be a hashtag. And that's where you want to look for. So Shift A. There we go. Want to make sure that the text is always centered. So we're going to center it out in the middle and hug the elements. All right. Again,
Very cool.
go back and forth. It looks good. Let's try it again. All right. Command P is a search bar. You're using the Builder.io plugin. All right.
And did you have to plug, did you install the plugin or it's just available?
It is now available. So before Figma used to have you install the plugins, but now it's just readily available in your plugins. So you can search here as well.
Awesome.
So it also lives in their plugins. You can search all the plugins here, but I find that Command P to be the quickest way to get something done.
Cool.
All right, Command P, make sure you have your section, your copy selected. All right, let's generate the code. Aren't these
Our
cute?
little dancing
love it.
builders. Very cute.
All right, so awesome. So it's been successful, and if it is successful, you'll be taken to a builder fiddle. And this is where you can make the final style adjustments and touch up the design. See? All right. Yeah. So sometimes it'll pop up like this. Sometimes it'll be absolutely perfect, but CSS can be a little finicky. So we're going to touch up on some of those final adjustments here. Let's see.
Got it.
Should I start? We'll start in the layers tab. Layers tab is very helpful if you want to select like the precise element that you're working with. So start with the box. We're going to go to the style tab. Looks like a max width was set, and we don't want this because I want it to stretch across the entire screen. We're going to remove that. And I also, again, want to stretch across someone's entire screen. So I'm going to set it to the full page width. You might not be able to see that because I'm working on a very tiny laptop screen.
Yeah.
But I'll switch out the view later to show you what it looks like. All right, so we're going to go down this list. I'm going to work in the columns now. All right, max width has been set. Let's remove that again. I want to stretch out. And I want it to stretch 100% of as much as it can fill up. Let's see, working down, we're now in that left-hand box. So the text box with the icons. Let's see, max width, we're going to remove that again. And
yeah, so these boxes, they translate basically to those families and the like different
yeah, so as you can
auto
see, it
layout.
remained a family as well as the text box remained a family here. All right, let's see. Sometimes it does take a little play around to see what you need to fix as well, but for the most part, if you go from the top to the bottom, you can start making those adjustments. Like if you like keep doing this, it becomes more intuitive in terms of like what needs to be fixed from a static to a responsive design. And so I'm going to go back up to the columns because I noticed that this giant space between the two is a little too big. And as you can see, it's 149. I'm going to pretty much have that. So let's go 64. All right. And then let's go to this image because it's cutting off. And it's doing that because it's set to cover. What we want to do is contain it in the actual box itself. It's a little small, but we'll get there. It changes to, it's about like a square. So I want to set it so that it works in mobile well and set it to 1. See.
Max width.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. And it'll start changing again as I start editing more things. Let's go down. Box. All right. Column is good. Another great thing you can do is if you like mess up in the gap or something, you can always go to these quick options here, just select half and half and it'll automatically set it for you.
Nice.
Sometimes I go deep into the editing or the iterations and I'm like, uh-oh, like I went too far and I messed up something. I'm just gonna go back.
need to clean it up again. Yeah.
Yes. So
totally.
That's a great way to just clean up all the mistakes that you made. All right, so that's looking pretty good, just still a little small. I'm gonna check here. I'm gonna change my editor view. Oh, that's looking pretty good. All right.
Yeah, that looks like the design to me.
And what you can do is go back to your copy, your master design here, and you can go back and forth between the two to see how they work together. One thing I want to do is show you how to replace this. So this was rasterized. Change my editor view. This is rasterized. So in the visual editor, this is where you can drop in your SVGs, which I already have preset here. So this is the SVG file, just a simple swap, easy peasy.
Nice.
All right, so we're gonna work at the bottom. This brag bar is a little funky. The Everlane logo is floating upwards and it's cutting off. So we're gonna do the same thing we did for this image, which is set to contain. That looks good. And they're all kind of floating in different areas. So we're gonna select all of them.
Nice.
And you can select either in the layers panel or you can select it on the actual editor itself, and like you can edit multiple things at once.
Yeah, I love editing multiple things at once. It makes it so much faster when I'm doing demos and stuff.
All right, so all I did was made them center vertically. All righty, that looks pretty good. Let's actually, if I look at it like this, what I want to do is make sure that this first bar is actually above the fold. Right now it's below the fold. So we're going to actually bring this up. I'm going to find the nested box. Yeah, that's a little too big. We're going to go to our style. 192. All right, we're going to bring it up. That was my mistake. So 96. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, a little bit more. I just want it to be above the fold. Perfect. All right, see, so you can make those quick iterations yourself in the Figma file. It looks perfectly fine. Lots of breathing space, lots of room, like a light and airy type of design. But in the actual design itself, live, it was way too far. Like I want it to live here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and that's the like power of Builder, right? You'll be able to edit and play around with your design on your live site once you like if you import this into your actual app, which is really cool.
Yeah. Let's see. This is fine. All right, this is looking good. We're gonna go to tablet now. So that's a great thing about this plugin is you can take this static design that I did not even have the tablet or mobile design for. You can automatically adjust the designs itself, set it up responsively.
Awesome.
From here, I can see that the padding is just a little too much in tablets. So I'm going to switch it out. Let's see. Maybe... No, actually, sorry. Just kidding. We're going to do 44. 44. I'm going to bring this up.
Nice. And this is utilizing the kind of top-down styling that we have at Builder, where changes on the desktop will stay in desktop, and anything from tablet will affect tablet and mobile. Kind of things go down.
Yes, you don't have to do double the work. Everything will just be done for you if you do it in tablet.
Yeah.
All right, so this brag bar, I just want to swap it out in the tablet and mobile view. Again, Figma did not have the auto layout available to do it as like a grid. So I'm going to do that here in Builder. I'm going to select that box. All right, it's easier for me to do a 3-panel. So I'm switching that. Going back to the layers tab, making sure I have the right box selected. And I am going to go from a stack to a wrap.
Nice.
And that I want them to be like 2 columns in tablet and mobile versus spread out in desktop. Let's see. So this one's a little lower. So we're going to figure out why. Click columns because it has this huge margin. Set that to 0 and then set it to the top. And that quickly aligns it up with the other box. And then I want to make sure that all of these elements are pushed away from each other. So I'm going to make sure they have a small margin, and going back to that box that we just made, we're going to add a gap here similar to the columns. So let's see, 64. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Nice. Yeah.
Now you can just check your mobile from here. Things looking good. The mobile, you might need to fix the gap. So let's set that to 0. And in mobile, I want them to be centered. So that's really quickly just setting that up into the middle. There we go. And we're done.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So you didn't even have to do all the like, you have one design for desktop or whatever, mobile or whatever within Figma, you import it, and then you're able to just make all these tiny adjustments here and there to check all the different viewports. That's awesome.
It's really great. Like the plugin will not export everything as is, like maybe 85 to 90% of the way there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it took maybe 15 minutes to get from a static design to a working responsive design. And all it took was just a few setup, a few clicks of auto layout, and then making some minor adjustments here.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, that design as a developer, it's a pretty straightforward design, but building that out would still take hours of time, just having to set up a structure and figure out what's nested, what's not, setting up the different CSS and all that stuff. So pulling it in automatically, I mean, yeah, like this site is ready to deploy to your live web page as is, which is pretty awesome.
Exactly. And it also saves time with that back and forth loop. Like, for example, I brought this brag bar up. If you had sent me the design as is from here, and I had seen that, I would have sent back another ticket saying, hey, bring this up more. I want them to live above the fold. And that would have been more work on your end. So yeah, this is such a powerful tool for designers and marketers to utilize.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Very, very cool. Now, question. I know this was so now you've exported this into a fiddle. So now this fiddle can be shared. You can copy the content from here into your space. I noticed there was the export to JSON as well. So that's just within the plugin.
Let me show you. Yeah. So we worked in this tab right here, export to code. And what you can do also is download the JSON file. So if you select this, you can download that and send that off to your developer.
And then that would just be that's where you have, if you go back to Builder.
There we go.
And go to the insert. That's where this import options.
Yep.
Figma. So that's where you would import now a JSON from Figma into here. Awesome.
Really quickly, so a developer can take your design as well and bring it from that static mode straight into Builder. It'll be easy for them, save them lots of hours of actual work. So they can focus more on like the interactions that are needed for this actual section versus having to build this out from the ground up.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Great. Really, really, really cool. Is that, I mean, I think that's everything, right? You want to maybe get some, it looks like we have some questions in the chat.
Oh, yes. I'd love to answer some questions. Should I switch back to our slide? Let's do it.
Please.
We're going to do the awkward. All right.
So it looks like we had a question. Let's see. So we can start with a question that was already answered, but just kind of to reiterate, Valeria had a question. She said, wonderful plugin. I'm wondering, designers will have to fix what is being imported in Builder all the time. It seems that the import is not done 100% accurate. Yeah, and that's kind of what Tiana was just touching on. You know, unfortunately, there's not any way to have everything be 100% foolproof all the time, but what it's doing, like you said, is like giving you the ability to cut out 90% of that work and just do the like final tweaking on your live site with a drag and drop editor, with the ability to like move things around instead of having to like back and forth between teams and stuff like that. So I guess a question for you then, Tiana, would be like, like, how has this affected your workflow as a designer? Like, is that how you started working more, where you're kind of building with kind of Builder in mind, you know, and playing around with stuff in Builder more? Like, yeah, how does it affect your day-to-day design?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing would be that it ultimately saves me time. That would be the biggest part of using that plugin. And again, it gives me the power to do those iterations myself. As you can see from the brag bar, like sometimes there are parts that I'm very confident about it in the static design of Figma. And then when I bring it into the app or into a responsive design, it does not work. So I can make those iterations myself. And from there, I can send it out to developer and say, hey, now that I have this layout completely set up, I want you to do these interactions or these complex UIs below it. And they don't have to focus on that part. So it not only saves me time, but it saves my whole team time. So I think it's such a great tool, even if it doesn't get all the way there, 80 to 90% there with a few minor, adjustments, I feel is, I mean, again, it just saves so much time.
Totally. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. We had a question in the chat. So does it work the same in reverse? If you design for mobile and export, then adjust for tablet and desktop, or is it better to do desktop and export? Do you have experience with that, Tiana? I have some thoughts, but I'd love to hear how you.
That is an excellent question that I will let you take the lead on. So the way I use it now for context is that I typically design for the desktop app. So I've been working purely in desktop for the past couple, months. So I have to think about that.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of companies do mobile first design. And so if that's kind of your process, I think that you can definitely use the Figma plugin, import into Builder, and then make those adjustments, start on mobile and make those adjustments out to tablet and desktop. Also, if you're using like our React SDK, let's say, and you are doing mobile only for like an actual mobile app, then yeah, you'll be locked into that mobile, and so it's going to translate directly the same way. We generally, though, kind of recommend, and our tool is built to do that desktop down. So if that's possible, or if that is a workflow, that's kind of what we usually recommend. But you can always, Builder is always meant to be flexible and adapt to any of your workflows. So I think that you can do whatever works best for your team, essentially. So cool. We had a question saying, looks like the design is still not the same as in Figma. It looked pretty close to me. I think this kind of comes down to, like you were talking about, Tiana, the idea of like what looks right in Figma might not translate directly into your app, right? And that's kind of the beauty of this tool, is that you're going to import it directly into your live website and be able to play around. You'll be able to like view as a preview, and see it on like a live page. And so you can see, as a designer, you'll have that power to say, hey, on the live page, we need to change this, adjust this. On my small screen, adjust this. On the desktop, adjust that kind of thing. So that's kind of, like we were saying, one of the powerful tools of being able to like really translate something over into a tool like Builder to be able to do those final tweaks. So
And then from there, like, for example, we just did it very quickly as just to show like how to do those final designs to get as close as possible to your Figma design. I can keep working the design, on my day-to-day basis. So like I could go back in and spend another 15 minutes tweaking the design and getting it closer to that Figma file. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not able to do that, I can always ask a developer, or I can ask Builder support, like, how do I get this to look like this? I've got it about 99% of the way there, but I can't get that 1%. So we're always here to help if you've ever find yourself in that sort of situation.
Yeah. And then I actually have a question. So have you started designing in auto layout, or do you still kind of use your drag and drop, like more freeform Figma, and then convert later? Like what's that look like for you?
I would say it depends. Like it depends on how mature a company's design system is. So if there are already components already made, they're already auto layout, I'm going to be working in auto layout because they have this set look and feel of their components. But if I'm working on an experimental layout or experimental holiday landing page, I'm not using auto layout at first. I'm just plopping things down where I think it's going to go. I'm just focused on the aesthetic itself. How does it look? How does this feel? And then from there, again, to do the auto layout, just look at it in terms of relationships. So how does this element relate to that element? Even though it's an experimental layout, then you can start to see like, okay, this is going to live together, and that's going to be a box. That's going to be auto layout. And then this is going to be a family there. And then this will be an entire family. And that's how you start setting it up. So yeah, it really depends. If you are just experimenting, don't use auto layout. It is very restrictive, and you won't get all your creative juices flowing because you're just working in this very restrictive box. But if you're working with a mature design system, work with auto layout because it's very helpful. It will keep everything very consistent all across the board.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, makes sense. And then actually my last question, last question. What are the most common things when you're kind of adjusting your designs? That like what when you import into, is it margin? It seemed like there was that max width was often something to like. What are the things to always kind of be sure to have top of mind to check for when you're working in that translation from Figma into Builder?
Yeah, I think this file was a really great view of the things that pop up commonly for me. It is that max width. It is that overly large size paddings and margins that you really need to look at, as well as contained images. So when it moves from Figma to Builder, it's going to contain it in a box because basically the image is now in a box and it's telling that image, all right, you live here. This is your home now. You know, I want you to fill up the whole space. And so you have to go back to Builder and tell it, no, I want you to live in a, you know, in a room in that house.
Right.
Smaller. And then the margins and padding, like it takes it from the Figma file. You know, when you design a Figma, you're putting a lot of space around the edges because you're just free flowing. But when it goes into the responsive design, it translates into these gigantic spaces, gigantic padding. So yeah, spacing, make sure your images are not covering, you want them contained, and max width. Always look for the max width. You want it to stretch and shrink with your screen.
Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. We have one more question that came in. How maintained, robust, and customizable as far as styling are these default builder components, box, columns, buttons, etc.? Currently, we use custom components that we created based on Bootstrap components. We would consider using this plugin to get the layout going a lot faster. Granted, the default builder components are reliable. Yeah, I mean, Tiana, your entire design was built in the custom or the default components. The vast majority of our site is built. All of Builder is pretty much built with just our default components. I don't know if we even have any custom. We have probably some small custom components here and there, but yeah, I mean, our Builder provided base components are meant to be completely, you know, customizable. They're all very part of the WYSIWYG. Like what you see is what you get. You drag and drop everywhere. You can add all kinds of styling however you want. So, you know, I think if you have specific questions or if you're trying to build out a specific design, again, reach out to our support team and we would be happy to help kind of like help you with that exact translation and, you know, advise on when you can use which components where and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that answered your question. And then I know we're running close to time here. So I wanted to, I think I skipped ahead a bit by going to the questions, wanted to make sure that we had showed this page as well. We have a few things available here. So we have our step-by-step guide online covering the Figma Builder plugin and use case and setup. So there's some written documentation that you can follow on your site or on our site as well. Like I said, if you are already a customer, feel free to submit a ticket using the tagline, how to build Figma importing made easy, just so we can know that this came from this webinar, or just let us know that you've come from this webinar, and we'd be happy to answer any specific questions about specific pieces of content or specific things that you are working on as well. And then if you want more demos of Builder, of Figma, of any of our products, any feature requests, or just want to talk to our sales team, of course, reach out here. We can chat with a solutions engineer to get more technical help and see how Builder can help you with Figma and design and any other thing as well. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Tiana, anything else from you?
I just want to say that this plugin is in beta. So if you have feedback, if you're running into problems with the plugin, please send us your feedback and your suggestions or any problems that you ran into. If you can take screenshots of it, that would greatly mature this project as well, because this tool is for you. We made it for you to simplify your workflows. So any problems you come up with, please send it our way.
Definitely. Yeah, like we said, this is version 2.0. So we plan to continue developing this tool based on user feedback and real world experience. So yeah, please send it our way. That's a great point, Tiana. So cool. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming. This was great, Tiana. That was super informative. I love seeing you, like how you kind of approach the design process, approach importing into Builder. Our new website looks amazing. Great job on that. Yeah, please reach out to us if you have any other questions. And then thanks to everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you all for attending. We hope you use this plugin and we hope it saves you some time. And again, reach out to us if it doesn't, because we want it to work for you.
Yes,
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a good one.